Good morning, I'm Betty Jane and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about the ethics of reading tarot. I always say that we should subscribe to our own code of ethics, which first of all means creating one. There's lots of information out there on the internet, but I thought I'd like to share with you some of my own personal ethics that I use and the reasons why I use them. Some of them are personal because there's something that I believe in, and others have been adapted from other sites and ideas that have been given to me or my own experiences in reading the tarot. The first thing I'm going to tell you is I never, ever, ever read the cards to anybody under the age of 18. Teenagers are so full of chaos and shifting energies that even at the age of 18 it's a little odd to read those cards. However, under the age of 18 I find that there are so many outward or influences on a teenager that they really don't need to be read by me. They don't need to be read by anyone. What I would suggest that they do if they want to have a tarot reading or some sort of divination performed for them is that they learn to do it themselves, and maybe with a pendulum or buying a deck of cards and learning how to do it for themselves. I have obviously done it before in the past. I've done it with the parents sitting with them, and I've done it where they've sat in front of me and I haven't had a lot of choices but to do it. However, now I'm very clear about asking an age and saying, no, I'm sorry, I don't read for anybody under the age of 18. It's a code of ethics I have subscribed to, and because I belong to a couple of tarot associations, it's in their code of ethics as well. And most times that answer is suitable for them. And then I can always direct them to a deck of tarot cards, maybe one with meanings on them. Because if they're going to spend the money on me for a reading, then they've got the funds to do that. It's not like I'm trying to make a sale or anything like that. Actually, I'm saving them money if they buy a deck of tarot cards rather than have a reading with me. It's something I very strongly believe in. One of the other things I believe in is I don't read when I've been drinking, and I don't read for anybody that's under the influence of any type of drugs or alcohol. It's just, again, the chaotic energy doesn't need to be there. The filters aren't there for myself. There's always a nice way and a wrong way to put things, and with having filters you don't necessarily, when you filter your thoughts, you can put things in a nice way. If you don't have that extra filter, then it's just going to come out, and maybe it might be a little edgier. Instead of saying, oh, I suspect an affair, you might come up with, oh, dude, she's having an affair, get out. It's just a way of words, framing words that needs to be a little gentler. And it's not that you're not saying the same things, it's just that you're modifying your words so it's not quite as blunt and in your face. Although sometimes, yes, those words are called for. But in some situations, maybe a little compassion is called for instead. I don't read for friends, family, or my husband's customers. And if you fall into all three of those categories, you can definitely not come to me for a reading, because you know now, you've heard me say it, that that's not going to happen. Friends and family, I want to be able to sit down to dinner with them and enjoy their company. I don't want them worried about what I'm thinking or what I'm knowing or things like that. So it's more about wanting to maintain a friendship. If you've come to me as a friend for a reading, I'm quite likely to say no. If you've sat down for a meal with me, I'm probably going to say no, because quite honestly, the reading needs to be about you, and I don't want to have to worry about what I'm saying and what you think I know and things like that. And I want you to always be comfortable in my company. So if I've done a reading for you and something's come out that you didn't want anybody to know, I can't unsay those words. I can't unsee what I've seen. So it's very difficult. I'd much rather sit down and give you a lesson rather than have you sit down and have a reading with me. My husband's customers, it's the same reason. He's a contractor. He doesn't need me to sit down and know what, and they don't want me to know what they're thinking and what they're doing and what I see in their futures and things like that. Yes, they might ask me job questions and things like that, but tarot is so much more than a career question. There's love, there's thoughts, there's desires, there's wants, there's needs, there's all those things that come out in a tarot reading or any type of reading. And so customers don't want me to know that, and I don't want to know that about them either, to be quite honest. There's lots of good places to look up meanings and ethics and why you would have certain ethics. Another thing is to have a space set up where you can do readings. Yes, I've done them in restaurants and pubs and bars, which might contraindicate the first thing was about reading under the influence. But if you're reading, if I know I'm going there to read, I am not drinking. And you can gauge whether somebody's had one too many drinks. And of course, when you're doing fundraising events, some of those altered states, yeah, it might get thrown out a little bit, but you know when a person is sloppy drunk or if a person's just had a drink. There is a way to tell. You know, we can see it walking down the streets. We know. And as an intuitive, you should know too, if a person's had one too many drinks to be able to be read. One of the things I do is I have a payment structure, and I work within my own boundaries. I have my own work, so I have my own space. So everything in my space is mine. It's about me and my tarot readings. I always make sure I have, although you can't see it's off screen, I have a box of Kleenex. I always have water for my client. I always have a space set up that's not cluttered, and I will give them a choice of 2 decks of cards. I have favorite cards. The other thing I do is if I have a mother come in and then maybe a sister or a daughter or a client come in with a relative, I never use the same deck of cards for each because their energy is so similar. I don't want cards, I don't want them to share energy or scatter it, so I want them to have something that's uniquely their own. It's something to think about is having more than one deck of cards available for that. One of the other things that I do when I read is I usually have a candle going. I usually have a crystal on my table. Not necessarily ethics, but things that set the scene. I very much believe in setting a scene. And it's not for me, it's for my client. I don't need a scene. I can walk into a room and do a reading. And I've done that. But what you need to do is be able to make sure that your client comes in, can feel comfortable. And providing a comfortable chair, providing a box of Kleenex, a pad and paper so they can write, allowing them to record what they would like. And that means a quiet place. Or if you're in a place where you only have a curtain dividing you, maybe soft music playing so that people can hear nothing behind the curtain, but the person that's in front of you. You've created that intimate atmosphere where they know that you're focusing just on them. There's a few, I don't like to call them tricks, but everybody's got, I carry a reading bag with me when I'm going to do parties and things like that. And in my reading bag, I have 3 or 4 decks of tarot cards, business cards, paper, crystals, my own little votive in its holder, a tablecloth. In my car, I usually have a folding table so that I can be completely set up and separate. I will ask to be in another room, be it a bedroom, a kitchen, a basement, wherever, so that again they don't have all their friends hearing the personal bits of the reading. Another thing to remember is it's almost like doctor-patient confidentiality. What happens in the tarot reading stays in the reading. You never divulge. And yes, later on you might be telling an anecdote, but you would never give a name, or in my case, I never give a name or a location. Because I read in various cities in the world, I would never say, when I was reading this so-and-so in Kingston, or if I was reading so-and-so in Salem, I don't say that. What I say was, I had a reading and this came up once. Or I might give an amusing story, but I never say a person, place, or thing, because that's breaking that barrier, that's bridging that confidentiality, and you never want to do that. You want to make sure that your client is completely comfortable. And I very much do that. It's interesting, I've done readings where I've done partners, but you've done them separately. Because I do offer a partner reading where I do one and then the other, and then I bring them in together. But I've had them where they've booked individual readings, and the one readings come out like this, very positive, but when I read the other person in the partnership, it's come out and you're going, geez, you know, if I'd read this person first, it might have changed that person. But no, there's a reason why things happen. And you can't go into, so what I'm trying to say here is, because you've read two people and they haven't come together for a reading, but they're two separate and distinct readings, even if they are a partnership, never change what you see based on the other reading. It's very hard to do, but only read what you see in regards to that person. If you're reading somebody and it's a very positive reading because you can feel all the hope and energy they have for that relationship, and then the next person sits down in front of you and all you get is desperation and despair and know how unhappy they are in their relationship, that's what you have to tell them. That's the reading you have to give them. Even though the other person is totally in love. But if you read that person as full of despair first, when the next person comes in and you see how happy they are in that relationship, you can't change what you see. You can tell her or him that what you see is their happiness, but you can't mention that first reading into her reading or his reading, because that's not fair to the first person. It comes into that confidentiality. What you have to say is what you see in their cards. You can't temper it by the previous reading, and that's very important to do. It's also very hard to do. Another thing I do is, if a person comes and sits down in front of me, and for whatever reason I'm not happy with how the reading is going, maybe I'm not in the right frame, maybe the person's not, maybe there's just so much chaos. If for whatever reason you're not comfortable with the outcome of the reading, or you're not comfortable with the direction of the reading, I always offer a second reading for them at no charge, and I give them a date that they have to use it by. So if I have a reading and the person is just all over the place, and I can see that it's not going anywhere, I will say to them, okay, you come in, today is October 1st, you come in on December 1st and we will do our reading for you. What time is good? And I always offer a choice of 2 times. Another thing, I don't believe that a person needs a reading more than once. I had people always ask me for readings every week. Don't like to do that. I'm not your moral compass. I am not your moral judge. I don't need to. I don't need to be the person you phone to find out what color suit you should wear for a job interview. Those are decisions you can make on your own. You don't need that from me. So I don't think that you need a reading more than every 4 to 6 months. Because let's face it, you're coming for a reading to get decisions, to get insight into your life. How much major change is there in your life in a week? Yeah, sometimes there is. I'm not even going to argue that. But I don't think you need to be here every week for a reading. 4 to 6 months, absolutely a great time. 3 months, depending on what's happened, absolutely, because let's face it, things do change, but I don't think you need to do it any more than 4 months is a great time. 6 months is better, so 3 to 4 times a year, or 2 to 3 times a year. Yes, you can actually do it that 4th time, but I really wouldn't suggest any more than that. And I've told clients that it's too soon, come back at. And when I finish my reading, I always offer my client, would you like to come back in 4 months? And I will give them a choice of dates and times. Yes, they can change. Absolutely, not a problem. But when you're trying to grow a business, giving them a choice of dates and times, maybe offering a prepayment option with a slight discount, all good things to do. So, in summation, I'd like to thank you for watching my video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. and visit sammyspells.com for some insight on what's happening in the life of this medium, and we'll chat soon. Thank you. Bye.